Okay, let me click here real fast just to make sure. There we go. There's Lee. All right, awesome. Okay, let's rock and roll. So Friday market update here now, August 21st. It's kind of amazing that we've gotten to this point, and gosh, you guys can't even see me. There. Let's try that. So August 21st, I'm going to give you guys a couple of key pieces that I think are probably most beneficial in terms of where we are right now as it relates to the housing market recovery, and then also a couple of key figures that can help you navigate some conversations with some clients that may or may not still be, like a lot of us are, very, very uncertain about what's going on, both here at home and all around the world, because there's a lot of things that are changing every single day. That's why we continue to do these market updates on a weekly basis. And there's a bunch of new data that's come out that I think you guys are going to find extremely interesting and also very helpful in navigating those new and prospective client conversations to help both buyers and sellers either get off the fence or help calm their fears about the uncertainty that both has already happened and lies ahead. So without further ado, we'll get to everybody's favorite part of this. There we go. Okay. So there's a very interesting comment that was made, an economist from the National Association of Realtors, that despite the federal foreclosure moratorium, there were fears that up to 30% of homeowners would require forbearance, ultimately leading to a forbearance or foreclosure rather tsunami. Forbearance did not hit 30%, but rather peaked at 8.6% and has been steadily falling since. I don't want to harp on this, but you can go back to Suze Orman's comment that there was just going to be all these $300,000 houses that were immediately going to sell for 150 because they were all in foreclosure. And it's based on this expectation that upwards of 30%, more than a quarter of homes in the country were going to go into foreclosure, right? Yeah, not even 10%. And in fact, what you can find on top of the fact that they've been decreasing, you can see, in fact, a steady decrease in the number of mortgages in active forbearance. We hit a peak of 4.76 million out of the roughly 400 million single-family homes in the United States in May 29th to be exact. Since then, that number has steadily been decreasing. Now, there is still a large majority of folks that are in difficult situations, and I feel for those folks. I don't want to have anybody experience a financial hardship. However, the predictions thus far, how they've actually fleshed themselves out in real time, thank goodness it's been less than 1/3 of what the worst case scenario was. And in fact, you see a glaring majority of those homes that were in fact in forbearance. And now, mind you, you do have, for those folks that do need that assistance, you have the ability to have not only that initial 180 days, but an additional 180 days on top of that, which roughly equals just south of a year of assistance, or at least forbearance, for those that are actually experiencing a financial hardship. Now, what we're looking at is, for the first time, we've actually got a number less than 4 million, 3.93 to be exact, and that data is accurate as of the 14th of this past month. A secondary piece to that, unemployment filings in the United States, actually the new active unemployment filings, dropped beneath 1 million for the first time since the pandemic began. And the number of active filings, what you take for core unemployment, has now dipped back beneath 5%, which is a very positive sign. Not to say that there are not people that are still in a pickle right now with regard to what their future and current employment looks like, but core unemployment is now back within the tolerance level of the historical average for a trend line for unemployment. It's not great news, but it's going in the right direction. Another interesting piece is, it revolves around consumer sentiment and about habits of consumers in the marketplace right now. CNBC and National Association of Realtors data, obviously we already know this. This is nothing new to anybody else on earth, but people overwhelmingly are starting their search online, 93% to be exact, and they're spending on average, in years past, that search period took between 4 and 6 weeks before they would contact a real estate professional. That search is actually taking about 10 weeks on average now. And some telling facts about these surveys that were done and in this research is that consumer sentiment about the housing market is waning slightly. Now, part of that is due, in fact, to the upward pressure that's been placed on most home buyers, and especially first-time home buyers, by price appreciation in the marketplace. The reason why that consumer sentiment has flattened a little bit, it's not going down, it's just flattening. It's because of the fact that the upward pressure that's been placed on them by price appreciation is causing everyone to look at the real estate market and say, oh man, maybe right now might not be a great time to buy, because these prices are bound to come down some point, right? Well, if you look at the data, and if you've been hanging with me on these weekly market updates, you know that especially here in the Greenville area, that's just not the case. We're experiencing consistent, solid, achievable, attainable growth with regard to price appreciation. Are prices going outside of some people's wheelhouse? Yes, they are. But that's always been the case, especially for first-time home buyers. And does that make me feel good? No, it does not, because I feel like everyone has the right to home ownership. It's just that consumer sentiment right now, when polled and asked, people are a little bit more tepid about home price appreciation, just partly because they're not being informed. They don't have the knowledge broker. They don't have the voice of reason to be able to come in and step in and say, here's the numbers. Here's how we feel. Will your house appreciate 10% the next year? No. Unless you buy a flip. But you do not need to worry about this pending price crash that's coming. And I think that that's echoed in the fact that curiosity for folks that are in the real estate market is at an all-time high. You'll look here at that graph, or the image rather, that these Google searches, this is all Google Analytics. This is stuff that if you ever want to figure out where people's eyeballs are, you can access this data. This is all publicly available data through Google searches. So the top searches, if you look at the process of buying a house, up 950%, that means that there's incredible evidence to the fact that there is a surge among first-time home buyers, those folks that are currently in a renting position, but have now understood the value of home ownership, like many of the Gen Z, I don't even know what generation we're on right now. The folks in the cohort of 24 to 28 years old are buying homes or are valuing home ownership at historic rates. And there's reason to believe that that's going to continue. People are, in fact, valuing home ownership the way that it should be valued, or at least pretty darn close. That search is up 950%. Can you use your 401k to buy a house? Up 2,800%. Now, we talked about how equity levels in the United States have been at all-time highs. It's also interesting to note that folks are now realizing that some other investment portfolios may not, in fact, be as productive as owning investment real estate. There's a flight to investment real estate as well, and that's laid bare by the fact that you've got a almost 3,000% increase in utilizing different arms, but more specifically retirement funds to purchase a home. So there's glaring signs that people are now viewing real estate ownership as a solid, found, you don't want to call it alternative, but a first resort when it comes to retirement planning. And then finally, it goes without saying, and we've all beat ourselves over the heads with the fact that mortgage rates are at an all-time low, but now we can find that it is also a great time to take advantage of, again, like I said, with the amount of equity that people have in their homes, to refinance their homes. Refinance home loan calculator up 4,000%. This is an extremely telling graphic that now people are in the place where they understand that even if nothing else fails, it's time to take advantage of the rates that we are currently gifted with. Curiously enough, the interest in the term suburbs, while it doesn't make this list because there's not really a surge so much to speak of, but interest in the term suburbs hit an all-time high in July, not just in the United States, but worldwide. And let that sink in for a second. There is a flight from urban environments into more suburban product. People just want to be able to breathe. We've all been cooped up for 6 months. They want to breathe. In the United States, cities with the highest search interest in suburbs in the past 3 months, respectively, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, and Houston. That comes as no surprise, but it also gives us somewhat of a clue as to where we need to be focusing our prospecting, whether it's friends that live in or around those areas, reaching out to real estate agents that are in those areas to help build and grow our referral network, or just quite simply marketing in those markets. If you want to cast a net over Chicago, Philly, New York, LA, and Houston, well, that's where the folks are going. And if you haven't viewed the website that I've been pushing for a while, it's howmoneywalks.com. It's going to back it up. That trend isn't just in the last 6 weeks. It's been consistent over time. But now it's really being apparent. It's really become apparent. And that flight from those cities to outlying areas, quite frankly, whether it be cost of living, whether it be more space, or just whether it be quality of life, now is the time for us to be helping those folks that are no longer happy in the areas that they're living in, and help them find a place that's better for them. Now, whether that actually events in a purchase in Greenville, I don't know. But it's time for us to really be paying attention to the other areas of the country where we could, in fact, have some benefit by helping people that are actually in need. And that's buttressed by the NAR Housing Market Recovery Index. And they call it as such because, well, quite frankly, take a look at it. You've got basically the 1st of May is your bottom, and a slow but steady climb right back to essentially we are almost at the February 1st. Well, we're past the February 1st baseline, but we are almost back to where we were March 6th or 7th, when everybody was convinced that this was going to be the greatest year in real estate ever. So combine those four components: demand, supply, price, and time on market, and the NAR data shows that we have climbed back, at least theoretically for now. We don't know what the future will hold. I'm confident in the fact that we're not going to experience another shutdown. And so the housing market will, quite frankly, now it's going to come true that the housing market will and is leading the rest of the economy out of a very dark and uncertain time. So what does that look like in Greenville? What does it look like in terms of us right here in our backyard? Your average days on market thus far, month to date in August of 2020, has ticked down slightly from the week previous to 47 from 49. That average price that jumped out to a very roaring start, over 300, almost to 310, has now gotten back to where I had figured that it would land, which would represent just about a 2.5% month over month increase from July. Now just sitting slightly south of 290,000 at 289,728. There are 668 new listings in Paragon currently active as of the 1st of August, with 963 pending, 322 as of the 1st of this month. That's a slight uptick, but that's also due, in fact, that many, many, many more homes that have come on the market recently have now gone under contract, which leads us to a slight dip in your current inventory, which sits right now at just over 2.2 months. We have really, really, really got to own the fact that while our inventory is low, there is inventory out there, but there needs to be more. There are plenty of new construction opportunities that are on the horizon, but they are not real right now. We really owe it to ourselves to equip the folks that are in our spheres, the people that we're in contact with, that we've done business with in the past, or the people that we want to do business with in the future, to equip them with this knowledge from the previous slides about how now is a good time to take advantage of favorable conditions if in fact they do have a need to either buy or sell this year or next year. Give them these numbers, equip them with the data, help them understand that we're here to help because we know what's going on. We have our finger to the pulse of both the industry and our local market as well. And let's find a way to make today the best day that it possibly can be for the folks that we need to help right now. And I'm going to reiterate this again, is that while we can try to push it away or ignore or pay attention to whatever it is that we're going to pay attention to, we cannot deny the fact that historically, every single 4 years, the real estate market takes a small stop the first week in November. There are a lot of people that are very uncertain right now, and now more than ever. That seems cliche at this point because I've said it so many times, but right now is the time to help understand and clarify what is actually happening. Meet feelings with facts. I'm going to say that again. Meet feelings with facts. Help people understand the favorable conditions that they experience right now. Help them understand what they can't understand. There's a reason why process of buying a home has increased almost 1,000%. It's because while we can go shopping all day long online, we can't buy a house online because there's too much involved. And 9/10 of that involves your ability to be the thermostat in a negotiation scenario and to also negotiate properly, to position an offer to be accepted in a multiple offer scenario. And also to be the voice of reason. Here's the information. Here's what we need to do. It's not better. It's not worse. It's not sugar-coated. It's not Eeyore with a cloud following him. This is what it is. And how do we do that? Well, you can't learn from experiences you're not having. We need to expose this information to the public. We need to help everybody understand what's really going on in our industry and in our local market. How do we do that? The first piece is with buyer consultations, helping them bridge the gap between the online search and getting down to the nitty-gritty of actually buying a home. Offer rejected letters. What does that mean? Quite simply, it means that if you are or have experienced a situation in which you were in a multiple offer scenario and your offer was rejected, but those folks that you're looking with are dead set on a certain area in your marketplace, now's the time to get out your pen and paper and send some cards to homes that fit that criteria that are not yet on the market to say, listen, I have these buyers and we were in a tough negotiation, a bidding war. Their offer got rejected and they were heartbroken. They would still love to live in this area. And if you would be open to selling your home, my clients would love to make an offer on it. A handwritten card, doesn't have to be 150 of them, it can be 5. The next thing is, quite honestly, it's skill building. Help yourself by helping yourself equip your toolbox with more tools. We got to get creative nowadays, but we don't have to be over the top with gimmicks or strategies. It's just old-fashioned skill building, learning how to tweak or improve your conversational skills, learning how to tweak or improve your interpersonal skills. Maybe, heck, just try and figure out how I can listen a little bit better today, tomorrow, the day after that. And then actually go have those conversations. Make a plan, commit to a number, and make that number happen. Whether it's 3, 5, 10, 150, I don't care. It's time for us to get the word out and be the voice of reason, the voice of information, the voice of knowledge, and the voice of compassion during a very uncertain time. Those things coupled together will help the folks that need to be in action get into action. Because there's a lot of people out there right now that, quite frankly, are stuck because they don't know. And they don't deserve to be stuck. That being said, I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has. Not all at once. Okay. Well, I like to make a promise that this thing is 30 minutes long and we're at 10:28 right now. So I really appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend great rest of the week and a good weekend. And I will talk with you soon. Please call me if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard.
All right, guys. Have a great one.